Hey guys, we're going to do a couple of videos here on something called simple interest. So this is kind of the beginning video. If you've never heard of simple interest, this will be kind of a new thing for you. And here's what it is. First off, it comes with a formula. If you want to write this down while I'm kind of explaining, you can. I equals PRT. I equals PRT. And the way the formula basically works is it's a calculation formula to find interest. And what's interest, you might say? Well, interest is money that can accrue and grow. A lot of times, what people will do is they will put their money in what's called a bank. And when you put your dollars in the bank stores them for you. They hang on to your dollars for you. You put your money in the bank, you leave it there, and what'll happen is the bank will say, if you leave your money with us, we'll pay you some interest. And it might not be a lot. It can be a very small percentage sometimes, like 1%. You'd be lucky to get 2% or 3%. That'd be a big number for interest in a bank. But the way it works is your money goes into the bank, and it's just sitting there anyways, and the bank will pay you that 1% interest, and it grows a little bit. So interest in a bank is a good thing. I mean, if you're not using the money and you need a place to keep it safe, a bank will keep it safe, and it will grow some interest for you. And this is the formula we use to calculate interest. Let's break the formula down into what it is exactly. So I, we'll draw an arrow here, stands for interest. P stands for what we say is principal. Principal. And when I say principal, I don't mean like principal of an elementary school or principal at middle school. I mean a principal means in the banking world, it means the original dollars. It's the amount of money that you're starting with. So under that, maybe we should just write the starting dollar amount. I'm just going to write starting dollars. Principal is just the banking way of saying, oh, it's the money that you start with. R here stands for rate. So R is for rate, and T stands for time. And so if you take your money to a bank and you open up a bank account, this formula is what they're going to use to determine how much interest you will earn in your account. It's based on the principal in dollars, the rate, and the time. And so we're going to try some problems. So let's kind of imagine here for a moment. Let's do an example problem. Let's say you decide to walk into a bank and start up your own bank account, and you take $400 in with you. So you walk into the bank, you have $400, you put it in the account. In the bank, it's a nice bank. It says you get 3% interest. That's pretty good. And you're going to get it every 6 months. Okay, well, what does that mean for you? Well, if you leave your $400 alone and it sits in the bank, they're going to be paying you 3 cents on the dollar. And so we're going to do a calculation to figure out exactly how much money is that. And so what we're going to do is we're going to use our formula. I equals PRT. Now let's kind of break this down a little bit more. I stands for interest. We're trying to figure out what I is. But P stands for principal. This is our P. This is our principal. It's the amount. It's the dollars that you went to the bank and deposited as your beginning amount. 3% is your rate. That's your R. That's your rate. And I should use a lowercase r. And 6 months, that's your time. The only kind of stipulation with this is usually when we use this formula, we calculate time in years. In fact, if you go back to where we had written our notes here, I think we should add a little note here that time is in years. That's an important thing to kind of note. So for the problem that we are doing, the issue here really lies in the fact that our time is 6 months. So how much of an actual year is that? Well, knowing that there are 12 months in a year, and you're going to get paid every 6 months, 6 out of 12 is the same as 1/2. 1 divided by 2, and 1 divided by 2 is 0.5 as a decimal. So it's 0.5 years. Okay, so we have a lot of information here. Let's go into our formula. P, our principal, was $400. R, our rate, was 3%. And T, our time, was 6 months, but we recalculated that as 0.5 years. 0.5 years. And so based on that, we're ready to solve this problem. I'm going to rewrite this as I equals $400 times 3% times 0.5 years. And I'm pretty much ready to put this in the calculator and multiply this out, except for the percentage. I cannot type the percentage in. I actually have to do that thing where I move the decimal 2 times, and I have to change my percent to a decimal. That's going to be kind of important here. So I'm going to write I equals $400 times 3%, which we're going to change to 0.03 times 0.5. And then we can solve for the interest now by multiplying those 3 numbers together. So let's do the multiplication. We're going to use calculators for this stuff. Let's figure out what 400 times 0.03 times 0.5 is equal to. Oh, nice number, 6. It comes out to 6 on the dot, which means our interest is $6. What that means is the bank's going to give you $6 for having your money sit with them and be in their accounts. $6 for not really doing anything other than leaving your money with them. So if you weren't planning on using your $400, if it was going to be sitting around at home, you might as well have it sitting around in a bank where it's going to gain some interest. That's $6 that you didn't have a while ago, half a year ago. So that's money that you earned. And so what we say in the banking world is that that's your interest. But a lot of times people like to check their balance, and their balance is how much they have in their bank account. So down below we're going to write the balance. Here's how the balance works. You started with $400, so you had $400. 6 months goes by and the bank says, here's your interest, and they pay you. So they add $6 into your bank account. You just earn that for having an account. So now you have a total of $406, and that is your current balance. So if you go up to the ATM machine and you're taking your debit card and you want some cash to go to the movies, you can take up to $406 out of your account because that's how much money you have now. Hopefully you're not going to take that much money to the movies, but that's kind of the idea, that that's your money to access. So let's try another one. Let's do a different problem. Okay, let's say example 2 here. You start up a bank account with $1,000. You have a little bit more money, and you show up and you get a really good interest rate. This is probably unlikely, but let's imagine. You get 4.5% of interest, and they're going to pay you every 18 months. Okay, well, we know that we need to use the I equals PRT formula. I equals principal times rate times time. So here is the principal. It's $1,000. That's our starting number. Here is the rate. It's 4.5%. That's pretty good. 4.5 pennies on the dollar. Here is our time, but it's in months again, and we need it in years. So remember, we know that there are 12 months in a year, but we're dealing with 18 months. So we're going to take 18 and divide it by 12. That would be 1.5. So every 1.5 years. So in my formula, let's see, P is $1,000. My rate is 4.5%. And my time was 18 months, but we had to change that to 1.5 years. 1.5 years. So let's multiply this out and get an answer. I is going to equal $1,000 times 4.5% times 1.5, 1.5 years. Now, can I go to my calculator and just type this in? Kind of wish I could, but I can't because I need to move my decimal 2 times. I got to convert that percent to a decimal. So I'm going to rewrite it again. I equals $1,000 times 0.045 times 1.5. Now I'm ready for my calculator. So let's do it. Let's put this in and see what our calculations come out to. So we have $1,000 times 0.045 times 1.5. 67.5. So that means my answer is I equals 67.5. That means $67.50 of interest. So you put $1,000 in, You left it in the bank account, maybe you forgot about it even, didn't need it, and it earned $67.50 of interest. The bank paid you $67.50 to leave your money there. So that's pretty sweet. So now I guess we better calculate what your balance is. So down below we're going to do our balance. Let's see, our balance. Well, we started with $1,000. The bank paid us interest. We earned $67.50. So if we add that up, we now equal our balance of $1,067.50. You just earned a lot of money for doing really absolutely nothing other than letting your money sit in an account. That's a pretty good interest rate right there. So that's the idea. That's simple interest. The formula that we're using is called the simple interest formula because it can get way more complicated, but this is kind of the basics to introduce you to how does it work when you have a bank account? Why do you earn money? Why do you earn this interest? So this gives you kind of a glimpse of it. There's going to be more videos to watch showing you more complicated problems. So look for those, and I hope this helps. All right, bye.